The Veldari Confederation faced its darkest hour. 7 advanced species, builders of wonders across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, now stood at the brink of extinction. Their enemy, the crystalline Nephilim, had destroyed 12 major colony worlds in the past solar cycle alone. High Commander Zextrol stared at the holographic battle reports, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of deep distress among his kind. The purple skin around his neck flaps had paled to almost white, another indication of his deteriorating health under constant stress. "How many ships lost?" he asked. 43 capital vessels, sir, including the Starlight Defender." Admiral Vendera's voice trembled slightly. The Starlight Defender had been their newest battleship, representing 5 years of advanced engineering. Zextrol closed his eyes briefly. "And our remaining fleet strength. At current loss rates, we have perhaps 3 more engagements before military collapse." The silence that followed felt heavier than a neutron star. The Veldari had ruled peacefully for 12,000 years, bringing prosperity to countless worlds. Now they faced oblivion at the hands of creatures they barely understood, crystalline entities that fought as one and consumed all in their path. "The Council still refuses to consider alternative approaches," Zextrol asked. "They maintain that our technology is superior, that we simply need better application of our existing doctrine." Vendera's voice carried a hint of frustration. "They believe victory must come through conventional means." Zextrol moved to the observation window, gazing at the stars beyond. "Conventional means have failed us 46 times in succession." He made a decision then, one that would either save their civilization or end his career. "Bring me the surveillance data from the primitive worlds. All of it." For 3 days, Zextrol reviewed footage from dozens of developing planets where the Confederation maintained observation posts. Most species caught in early technological development showed promise but lacked the immediate value the Veldari needed. Then he found it. The footage showed a military training facility on a blue-green world called Earth. A human female stood before a tactical display, directing simulated forces against an overwhelming enemy. Her forces were outnumbered 5 to 1, yet through unconventional positioning and surprising maneuvers, she achieved victory. Zextrol watched 7 more simulations featuring the same human. Each time, she employed strategies that seemed illogical, even reckless by Veldari standards. Yet each time she won. "Identify this individual," he ordered. "Olivia Grant, military designation Marine Corps Major, specialized in tactical response to asymmetric threats," responded the computer. "Currently retired from active service." Zextrol studied her file. Olivia had resigned her commission after disagreements with her superiors over tactical doctrine. Now she lived alone in a remote dwelling in a region called Montana. "Sir, you cannot be considering this," Vendera said, realizing his commander's intent. "The Council would never approve contact with such a primitive species. The Council has led us to the edge of extinction through rigid thinking," Zextrol replied. "This human shows something different, something the Nephilim might not anticipate. But humans are violent, unpredictable. They haven't even achieved unified planetary governance. Perhaps that chaos is exactly what we need." Zextrol made his decision. "Prepare a contact team. Science Officer Kilnar will lead. His research on humans is the most comprehensive." "Sir, if the Council discovers this, then I will face the consequences after we defeat the Nephilim. Otherwise, there will be no Council left to judge me." Zextrol's neck flaps flushed blue with determination. "We need something the Nephilim cannot predict, something they have never encountered. And you believe one human can provide this." Zextrol watched the recording again as Olivia Grant's simulated forces executed a maneuver that no Veldari commander would ever consider, sacrificing a flank deliberately to create confusion in the enemy response. "I believe we have exhausted all other options," he said. "Sometimes salvation comes from unexpected places." 2 days later, a Veldari stealth vessel departed for Earth, carrying the fate of 7 civilizations toward one small cabin in the mountains of Montana. Olivia Grant chopped firewood outside her cabin as the autumn wind rustled through the pine trees. At 38, her body remained strong, though a nasty scar ran down her right forearm, a reminder of her last deployment. She had built this place herself after leaving the Marines, wanting distance from a world that refused her advice one too many times. A flash of light in the clearing made her drop the axe. Olivia squinted as the air seemed to ripple like heat waves over asphalt. She reached slowly for the handgun tucked in her waistband. The rippling intensified, then solidified into something impossible, a silvery oval doorway hanging in midair. From it emerged 3 figures that clearly weren't human. Olivia's gun was up in an instant, her hand steady despite the shock. "Don't move," she ordered, voice firm. The tallest creature raised 4-fingered hands in what appeared to be a universal gesture of peace. Its purple skin glistened in the sunlight, and 4 golden eyes blinked at her in sequence. "Olivia Grant," it spoke in accented but clear English. "We need your help." "Who are you, and how do you know my name?" she demanded, not lowering her weapon. "I am Science Officer Kilnar of the Veldari Confederation. We have observed your planet for decades." The alien's voice had an odd musical quality. "We face extinction and believe you possess skills that might save us." Olivia barked a laugh. "You crossed light years for me specifically. Try again." Kilnar made a gesture, and a glowing 3-dimensional image appeared between them. Olivia herself, running combat simulations at Quantico 3 years earlier. "Your tactical approaches during these exercises showed patterns of thinking our analysts found unique," Kilnar explained. "Our enemy, the Nephilim, has defeated our forces 46 times. We need something they cannot predict." Olivia slowly lowered her gun, curiosity overcoming caution. "Come inside. You can explain there." In her small cabin, the 3 aliens looked comically out of place. The smallest, with blue-green skin, examined her bookshelf with obvious fascination. "Those are military histories," Olivia explained. "Something tells me you didn't pick me randomly." "Correct," Kilnar confirmed, activating another hologram showing crystalline ships destroying what appeared to be a space station. "The Nephilim are a hive mind species that seeks to assimilate all advanced life. They have destroyed 12 of our colony worlds in the past year alone." Olivia watched the footage, her trained eye noting the attack patterns. "Your ships move in perfect formation. Too perfect." The 3rd alien, wearing something like armor, spoke for the first time. "Our military doctrine emphasizes coordination and optimization. And let me guess, this enemy adapts to your patterns," Olivia said. "You're too predictable." Kilnar's neck flaps fluttered, which Olivia guessed indicated surprise. "Precisely. How did you know?" "Because that's exactly what I warned my superiors about before I quit. Enemies adapt to patterns. Sometimes you need chaos to win." Olivia poured herself a whiskey, offering some to the aliens who politely declined. "Why me and not our governments?" "Your planet remains divided. Official contact would cause disruption," Kilnar explained. "Our High Commander believes one human mind might be enough, one who understands unconventional warfare." Olivia laughed bitterly. "I understand it well enough to get pushed out of the Marines for my theories. Yet your simulation results prove your methods effective," the smallest alien noted. Olivia studied them, searching for deception. Finding none, she asked, "What exactly would helping you involve?" "You would join our fleet, analyze our tactics, and help develop strategies against the Nephilim. In return, we offer knowledge that would benefit your species." Olivia stared at her cabin walls, at the life she'd built in isolation. "When would we leave?" "Immediately, if possible. Our next engagement is projected in 14 days. Olivia drained her glass. Part of her couldn't believe she was considering this. Another part, the tactician who had never been allowed to fully test her theories, felt a familiar spark. "I'll need to understand your technology, your culture, and your enemy before I can help," she said. And I want everything on record. No holding back information. Kilnar's four eyes blinked in sequence. Agreed. Olivia looked around her cabin one last time. Give me an hour to pack. Olivia watched Earth shrink to a tiny blue dot through the curved viewport of the Veldari ship Starshard. She had packed light, some clothes, personal items, and several military history books. The lump in her throat surprised her. She had always felt disconnected from humanity, yet seeing her entire world reduced to a speck stirred unexpected emotions. First-time space travelers often experience this feeling, said Engineer Drenval, the blue-skinned alien who had been fascinated by her bookshelf. We call it the perspective shift. On Earth, we call it the overview effect, Olivia replied, turning away from the window. How long until we reach your fleet? 3 Earth days using our fold drives, Drenval explained, leading her down a curved corridor. This will give you time to study our combat records. The ship itself amazed Olivia. Its walls seemed almost alive, changing color subtly as they walked. The technology was clearly centuries beyond Earth's capabilities, yet she noticed peculiar inefficiencies in the design. Her quarters were small but comfortable, with a bed shaped to human proportions and a workstation with controls modified for her 5-fingered hands. Kilnar had been thorough in his preparations. Olivia spent most of the journey studying Veldari battle tactics through interactive holograms. She watched dozens of engagements against the Nephilim, noting patterns and weaknesses neither side seemed to recognize. On the second day, she found Drenval in what appeared to be an engineering bay. Your weapons targeting systems are too predictable, she said without preamble. Drenval's head tilted. Our targeting is precise to within microns. That's the problem, Olivia explained, pointing to a simulation she had brought. Look here, your ships fire in perfect sequences. The Nephilim have learned to anticipate this and adjust their shields accordingly. Precision is valued in Veldari culture, Drenval said defensively. In war, sometimes chaos is more effective than order, Olivia countered. I need to understand how your weapons work if I'm going to help. To her surprise, Drenval agreed to explain their weapon systems. Over the next hours, Olivia learned about harmonic energy projectors, gravity disruptors, and shield technologies beyond human imagination. Yet she kept identifying the same flaw. Everything was too ordered, too predictable. Your people think like engineers, not fighters, she told Drenval. Perfect solutions are wonderful in theory, but in combat, the unexpected wins battles. By the third day, Olivia had gained Drenval's respect. When the ship finally emerged from fold space near the Veldari fleet, he personally escorted her to the bridge. Prepare yourself, he warned quietly. Many will not welcome your presence. The Veldari fleet took Olivia's breath away. Hundreds of massive ships arranged in geometric patterns that seemed both artistic and strategic. The flagship, Eternal Vigilance, dwarfed all others. A city in space with elegant spires and curved sections that defy human architectural concepts. As their shuttle approached the flagship, Olivia felt her confidence waver. What could one human possibly offer these advanced beings? The reception area held a dozen high-ranking Veldari officers, their skin colors ranging from deep purple to pale blue. Most regarded her with what she interpreted as skepticism or outright hostility. Admiral Vendera, who she recognized from the ship's records, stepped forward. So this is the primitive who will supposedly save us. His translator didn't fully mask the contempt in his voice. Before Olivia could respond, High Commander Zextroll entered. The room immediately fell silent. Olivia Grant, he said, his 4 eyes studying her intently. I have watched your tactical simulations with great interest. Welcome aboard the Eternal Vigilance. Thank you, Commander, Olivia replied, standing straighter. I've reviewed your battle records. With respect, your forces are fighting the wrong war. Murmurs of outrage rippled through the assembled officers. Explain, Zextroll said simply, silencing the others with a gesture. You're fighting like the Veldari. You need to fight like humans, unpredictably, adaptively. Olivia met his gaze. "And I need complete access to your combat data to show you how." Zextrol's neck flaps flushed blue. Bold words from a species that has yet to leave its own solar system. "Sometimes the most valuable perspective comes from outside," Olivia replied. After a long moment, Zextrol nodded. "You shall have your chance, Olivia Grant. The fate of 7 civilizations now rests partly in your hands." Olivia spent 3 days locked in the Eternal Vigilance's tactical center, reviewing every recorded Nephilim encounter. She barely slept, sustained by stimulant drinks the Veldari provided. The crystalline enemies fascinated her. Their ships moved like a single organism rather than individual vessels. "They're networked," she muttered to herself on the 3rd day, watching a battle where Nephilim ships adjusted formation simultaneously after a Veldari attack. Not just communicating, they're sharing processing. A junior science officer named Tekmar had been assigned as her reluctant assistant. "All our analysis indicates they are a hive mind," he confirmed. "No, it's more specific than that," Olivia insisted, rewinding the footage. "Look at the timing. When you hit one ship hard enough, there's a brief delay before the others respond. That suggests they're not truly one mind, but a distributed network with communication lags." She requested transmission data, which revealed faint energy pulses between Nephilim vessels after each engagement. "I need to speak with your xenobiologists," Olivia demanded. "Someone who understands their physical composition." Senior researcher Pax Lorne was ancient even by Veldari standards. Her once purple skin now faded to pale lavender. She regarded Olivia with obvious skepticism. "The Nephilim are silicon-based life forms with crystalline structures that allow computational processes within their physical bodies," Pax Lorne explained. "We believe each ship contains thousands of individual crystals functioning as a collective." "Do crystals have resonance frequencies?" Olivia asked. Pax Lorne blinked her 4 eyes in surprise. "Of course, all crystalline structures do." "And what happens when you hit the resonance frequency?" "Disruption. Potentially catastrophic fracturing if the amplitude is sufficient." Olivia smiled for the first time in days. "That's it. That's their weakness." She requested a meeting with Zextrol and the senior command staff, who gathered reluctantly in the war room. Admiral Vendera made no effort to hide his continued disdain. "The Nephilim aren't invincible," Olivia began without preamble. "They're a distributed network with predictable communication patterns. When one ship is damaged, it transmits data to others through energy pulses at specific frequencies." She displayed battle footage with the pulses highlighted. "These transmissions have patterns, and patterns can be disrupted." "We've attempted communication jamming," Vendera countered. "Their signals adapt too quickly." "Because you're trying to block all frequencies," Olivia explained. "Instead, we need to flood specific frequencies with noise, the exact resonance frequencies of their crystalline structures." Murmurs spread through the room as the implications became clear. "Furthermore," Olivia continued, "your battle tactics are too defensive. You form perfect formations and wait for them to attack. This gives them time to analyze and adapt." She called up a simulation showing Veldari ships in their standard defensive array. "Instead, we need to create deliberate weaknesses in our formations, sacrificial positions that look like mistakes that are actually traps. Sacrifice our ships deliberately," an officer objected. "That violates our most basic principles of warfare." "Your principles are getting you killed," Olivia said bluntly. "The Nephilim expect perfect Veldari logic. We need to introduce human unpredictability." The room erupted in argument until Zextrol raised a hand for silence. "What exactly do you propose?" he asked. Olivia manipulated the holographic display, creating a new formation with apparent gaps and weaknesses. "We position harmonic disruptors in these locations. Then we deliberately expose these 3 cruiser groups, which will appear vulnerable. When the Nephilim attack, they'll concentrate forces here and here." She pointed to specific locations. That's when we hit them with targeted harmonic pulses while simultaneously launching counterattacks from these positions. Vendera shook his head. You're asking us to use our people as bait. I'm asking you to fight intelligently, Olivia countered. Continue with your current approach and everyone dies anyway. Science Officer Kilnar, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. The theory is sound, Commander. Crystalline resonance disruption could critically impair their function. Zextral studied the simulation, his expression unreadable. Finally, he looked at Olivia. Prepare a detailed battle plan, he ordered. We will test your strategy in the Dalaris sector, where a small Nephilim force was detected yesterday. As the officers filed out, Vendera paused beside Olivia. If you're wrong, human, those deaths will be on your conscience. And if I'm right, she replied quietly, we might all survive. Olivia stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigilance as the fleet prepared for engagement in the Dalaris sector. Only a portion of the Veldari forces had been committed to this test, 3 battle groups comprising 27 ships total. Zextral had agreed to her strategy, but insisted on limiting potential losses. Nephilim forces detected at the edge of the system, reported a sensor officer. 5 capital ships with escort vessels. Olivia checked the tactical display. Perfect. Not too many, but enough to test our approach. Admiral Vendera watched her with narrowed eyes. My crews are in position, but remain skeptical of deliberately exposing their flanks. The key is making it look natural, Olivia explained. Not an obvious trap, but a formation that suggests weakness through apparent error. The Veldari ships moved into the unconventional pattern Olivia had designed, an asymmetrical arrangement with seemingly vulnerable gaps. To traditional Veldari tacticians, it looked chaotic and flawed. To Olivia, it was a carefully crafted deception. Harmonic disruptors calibrated to the frequencies you specified, reported engineer Drenval, who had personally overseen the modifications. The Nephilim have altered course, announced the sensor officer. They're approaching our position. All eyes turned to the main view screen as the crystalline ships came into visual range. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Faceted structures that reflected starlight in dazzling patterns, their movements synchronized like a deadly dance. They're analyzing our formation, Zextral observed, adjusting their approach vectors. Olivia nodded, watching intently. They see the gaps. Now we wait. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then the Nephilim fleet suddenly accelerated, breaking into smaller groups targeting the apparent weaknesses in the Veldari formation. They've committed, Olivia announced. Engage harmonic disruptors on my mark. She waited until the first Nephilim vessels entered the optimal range. Now, the modified Veldari weapons fired, not the usual energy beams, but concentrated pulses at specific frequencies. On the tactical display, the energy waves appeared as rippling patterns spreading through the enemy formation. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The lead Nephilim vessel shuddered visibly, its crystalline structure vibrating. The smaller escort ships nearby began moving erratically. It's working, Drenval exclaimed. Launch counterattack groups, Olivia ordered. Target the disoriented vessels first. The hidden Veldari ships moved in, firing conventional weapons at the distressed Nephilim. 2 enemy vessels shattered completely under the assault, their fragments dispersing into space. Victory seemed within reach when a Veldari captain in the 3rd battle group broke formation, moving to engage a Nephilim capital ship directly. Cruiser Dawnshard is breaking protocol, reported a communications officer. Captain Zelmera claims he sees an opportunity to destroy their command vessel. Order him back, Olivia shouted. He's moving out of the harmonic field coverage. But the order came too late. The Nephilim ship, though damaged, fired a concentrated beam at the exposed Veldari cruiser. The Dawnshard exploded in a brilliant flash, taking 2 nearby Veldari escorts with it. The disruption created a cascade effect. With the formation broken, other Nephilim ships began to recover, adjusting to new frequencies and coordinating their counterattack. Pull back the exposed ships, Sextrol commanded. Re-establish the harmonic field. The remaining Veldari vessels struggled to reform their pattern, but the damage was done. 3 more ships were lost before they could stabilize the formation. In the end, the engagement ended in a partial victory. 7 Nephilim ships destroyed against 6 Veldari vessels lost. Better than previous encounters, but far from the decisive win Olivia had promised. As the fleet withdrew to safer space, Admiral Vandera turned to her, fury evident in his posture. "Your strategy cost us 6 ships and hundreds of lives." "Because one captain refused to follow the plan," Olivia countered, though her face showed her own distress at the losses. "But we destroyed more of them than they destroyed of us. That's never happened before." Zextrol stepped between them. "Enough. The strategy showed promise, but discipline remains an issue. Our captains are not accustomed to such unconventional approaches." Olivia stared at the tactical replay, watching the moment when victory had slipped away. The basic concept works. The harmonic disruption affected them exactly as predicted. We need to refine the approach and ensure everyone understands their role. "The Council will demand explanations for these losses," Vandera warned. "Tell them we found the Nephilim's weakness," Olivia replied, her determination returning. "Now we just need to exploit it properly." Olivia sat cross-legged on the floor of her quarters, surrounded by holographic models of Veldari weapon systems. For 3 days since the battle in the Dalaris sector, she had barely slept, driven by the knowledge that her strategy had worked, but not well enough. A chime at her door interrupted her thoughts. Engineer Drenval entered, carrying what looked like a modified communications device. "You missed the council briefing," he said, his blue skin paler than usual from apparent exhaustion. "What was the point?" Olivia asked, not looking up from her work. "Vandera wants me sent home, and half your officers think I'm going to get them all killed. Yet High Commander Zextrol defended your strategy. He believes the partial victory proves your approach has merit." This got Olivia's attention. She looked up, surprised. "Really? Even with the losses?" 6 ships lost in exchange for 7 Nephilim vessels represents our best exchange ratio in the entire conflict. Drenval settled beside her, examining her work. "What are you doing with these weapon schematics?" "The harmonic disruption worked, but the Nephilim adapted too quickly," Olivia explained. "We need to make our frequencies unpredictable, constantly changing in patterns they can't easily analyze." Drenval's head tilted in confusion. Random frequencies would reduce targeting efficiency by at least 30%. "Not random," Olivia corrected. "Patterned, but in ways that appear random to their systems." She pulled out her personal tablet, one of the few items she'd brought from Earth. "Listen to this." She played a piece of jazz music. Drenval's sensory membranes vibrated as he listened. "This is Earth music?" he asked. "Jazz specifically. It follows musical rules but incorporates improvisation. Structured unpredictability." Olivia smiled. "That's what we need. Weapons that follow harmonic patterns like music, constantly shifting but within recognizable frameworks." "An intriguing concept," Drenval admitted. "But implementing such modifications across the fleet will take time we don't have," Olivia finished. "We'll start with a single battle group, ships with crews willing to try something new." Over the next several days, Olivia worked closely with Drenval and a small team of younger Veldari engineers who proved more receptive to her unconventional ideas. Together, they modified the harmonic disruptors on 3 ships, programming them with wavelength patterns based on Earth music structures. Meanwhile, Olivia focused on another aspect of human warfare the Veldari had never considered: psychological impact. The Nephilim may be crystalline, but they clearly process information and make decisions, she explained to a group of junior officers who had begun to gather around her informally. That means they can be confused, misdirected, even frightened. Lieutenant Cephalana, a tactical officer who had witnessed the Dalaris engagement, seemed particularly interested. "How does one frighten crystals?" By becoming unpredictable, Olivia explained. All intelligent beings fear what they cannot understand or predict. We need to make the Veldari fleet seem almost irrational. Our commanders would never approve of irrational tactics, another officer objected. Then we don't call it irrational, Olivia replied with a smile. We call it strategic unpredictability. Word of Olivia's informal sessions spread through the fleet. While senior commanders remained skeptical, younger officers began coming to her with questions and ideas. A movement was building among the ranks, a willingness to try something new in the face of extinction. Admiral Vendera confronted her in the main tactical center. You're undermining chain of command with these unauthorized meetings. I'm providing additional perspectives to interested officers, Olivia countered calmly. Officers who recognize that continuing the same approach guarantees defeat. Before Vendera could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Zextrol's voice came over the communication system. All personnel to battle stations. Nephilim fleet detected on approach to the Centauri Nexus. All available ships prepare for immediate deployment. Vendera's expression darkened. The Centauri Nexus is our last defensible position before our core worlds. Olivia met his gaze steadily. Then we need every advantage we can get, including my modified ships and tactics. After a long moment, Vendera nodded curtly. Present your full plan to Zextrol. If he approves, you'll coordinate from the command ship. He turned to leave, then paused. This is our last stand, human. Make your chaos count. As he left, Drenval approached with several other officers who had worked with Olivia. We're with you, he said simply. The old ways haven't saved us. Perhaps the human element will. The Centauri Nexus glowed with the light of 3 nearby stars, their combined radiation creating a natural barrier that had made it a strategic choke point for millennia. Now it would serve as the battlefield for the Veldari Confederation's last major stand. Olivia stood at the central tactical station aboard the Eternal Vigilance, watching as the fleet deployed according to her design. Not the perfect geometric patterns the Veldari preferred, but an asymmetrical arrangement that appeared chaotic while maintaining hidden strengths. Nephilim fleet entering the system, reported the sensor officer. 117 capital ships detected. A collective silence fell over the bridge. The Veldari fleet, even with every available ship, numbered only 83 vessels. They brought everything they have, Zextrol observed, his voice calm despite the odds. So have we, Olivia replied. She activated the communication channel. All ships with modified harmonic disruptors. Confirm ready status. 23 acknowledgements came in, not just the original 3 ships, but others whose crews had worked frantically to implement her designs in the days before the battle. Phase 1 forces, move to engagement positions, she ordered. Remember, make your retreats look desperate, not planned. The vanguard of the Veldari fleet moved forward, appearing to challenge the Nephilim directly. As expected, the crystalline ships adjusted their formation to counter this apparent aggression. They're responding to our apparent strategy, Olivia noted. Now for the first surprise. Activate harmonic pattern alpha. The modified ships fired their disruptors, but unlike in the previous battle, the frequencies shifted continuously according to musical patterns from Earth, jazz improvisations, classical movements, even rock rhythms. On the tactical display, the energy waves created beautiful, unpredictable patterns that washed over the Nephilim fleet. The effect was immediate. Several enemy vessels began moving erratically, their coordinated formations breaking down. Phase 2, Olivia commanded. Apparent retreat to secondary positions. The Veldari ships pulled back, seemingly in disarray. The Nephilim, sensing victory, pressed their advantage. Exactly as Olivia had predicted. They're pursuing our retreating ships, Admiral Vendera observed, spreading their formation to envelop us. Now they're vulnerable, Olivia said. Phase 3, counterattack with harmonic pattern beta. The hidden strengths in the Veldari formation suddenly revealed themselves as ships that had appeared to be fleeing turned to engage with a new set of harmonic frequencies. Caught between conflicting disruption fields, dozens of Nephilim vessels shuddered violently, their crystalline structures vibrating beyond tolerance levels. For the first time in the war, the Nephilim formation fell into genuine disarray. "It's working," Drenval exclaimed from his engineering station. "Their coordination is failing." But the Nephilim were adaptable. Even as their smaller vessels succumbed to the harmonic assault, their largest ships began generating interference fields to protect themselves. "They're adjusting faster than anticipated," Olivia noted with concern. "We need to escalate the unpredictability." She made a decision that surprised even herself. "Commander Zextral, I need direct control of Strike Group 7. Zextral's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, but he nodded. "Granted." Olivia opened a channel to the 12 ships of Strike Group 7. "This is Olivia Grant. I'm taking tactical command for a direct assault on the Nephilim flagship. Follow my lead exactly, no matter how irrational it may seem." She transferred to a small command shuttle and launched from the Eternal Vigilance. From this mobile position, she could direct the strike force personally, making split-second decisions impossible to coordinate from the flagship. "Strike Group, form on my position, then follow these exact maneuvers," she instructed, sending a sequence that would have made any Veldari tactician cringe. Rapid direction changes, apparent random accelerations, and deliberate near collisions that created visual confusion. As they approached the massive Nephilim flagship, Olivia's shuttle darted and weaved unpredictably. The Veldari ships followed her lead, creating a swarm-like effect that the Nephilim targeting systems struggled to track. "All ships, harmonic pattern gamma on my mark," she ordered. "Fire directly at the central node." The concentrated attack hit the Nephilim flagship at precisely the point where Olivia had theorized their command crystals would be located. The massive ship shuddered, then went dark as cascading disruptions spread through its systems. 5 years after the Battle of Centauri Nexus, Olivia stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned Earth vessel Stardancer. The ship represented humanity's first independent contribution to the joint Veldari human defense fleet. Unlike the elegant curves of Veldari design, the Stardancer featured practical angles and modular sections that reflected the pragmatic approach of its human engineers. "Impressive, isn't it?" asked Captain Sam Rivera, joining her at the viewport. "Hard to believe we built this using adapted Veldari technology in just 5 years. Even harder to believe they let us modify their designs so drastically," Olivia replied with a smile. The integration of humanity into the galactic community had not been simple. Earth's nations had initially reacted with panic, suspicion, and in some cases, hostility to the revelation that aliens existed and had already recruited one of their own. But Olivia's role in saving 7 civilizations from extinction had given her words enough weight to eventually bring Earth's leaders to the table. "Admiral Zextral's shuttle is approaching," announced a voice over the communication system. "Time to greet our honored guest," Sam said. They walked to the docking bay, where an honor guard of both human and Veldari personnel stood at attention. When the shuttle doors opened, Zextral emerged, his purple skin now bearing the additional markings of the Confederation's highest rank. "Ambassador Grant," he greeted, using her official title. "This vessel is a remarkable achievement." "We had good teachers," Olivia replied, clasping his 4-fingered hand in the Veldari greeting she had grown accustomed to. Together they toured the ship, with engineers from both species pointing out innovations that combine Veldari technology with human intuition. The ship's harmonic disruptors had been completely redesigned based on Earth musical theory, creating weapons more versatile than anything in the Confederation's previous arsenal. "The Nephilim have remained quiet since their retreat," Zextral noted as they reached the ship's tactical center. "Our intelligence suggests they are struggling to adapt to the unpredictability factor you introduced." "They'll adapt eventually," Olivia warned. "That's why we've been working on new hybrid tactics." The tactical display showed a simulation of the latest joint maneuvers, Veldari precision combined with human unpredictability in ways that would have been unimaginable before their alliance. Later, in the ship's conference room, Zextrol shared news from the Confederation Council. They have approved the formal integration of Earth as the 8th member of the Confederation, he announced. The first new member in over 2,000 years. The human officers in the room broke into applause. It was a moment of triumph that few could have imagined when Olivia first stepped aboard a Veldari vessel. There's more, Zextrol continued once the celebration quieted. The Council is establishing a new division within our defense forces, the Strategic Innovation Command. They want you to lead it, Olivia. She stared at him in surprise. Me? Leading a Confederation command? Who better? You've already proven that sometimes the best tactical mind is one that thinks differently from the rest. That evening, Olivia stood alone on the observation deck again, watching Earth rotate slowly below. Her home planet now hosted Veldari diplomatic missions, technical exchange programs, and cultural centers. Humanity was taking its first steps into a much larger universe, bringing their unique perspective with them. Drenval, now her closest friend among the Veldari, joined her silently. "Have you decided about the command position?" he asked after a moment. "I'm still thinking about it," she admitted. "Part of me wants to stay here, helping Earth adjust to its new reality." "And the other part?" Olivia smiled as she watched a Veldari cruiser gracefully arc past the Stardancer, its movements precise and beautiful. "The other part wonders what other problems out there might benefit from a little human chaos." "The universe is vast," Drenval reminded her, "and the Confederation has existed for 12,000 years without the human element. Who knows what we might accomplish with it?" Olivia nodded slowly, her decision crystallizing. "Tell Zextrol I accept, on one condition. The Strategic Innovation Command includes both Veldari and humans working together. The perfect balance of order and chaos." Drenval agreed. Below them, Earth continued its steady rotation, no longer alone in the cosmos. And somewhere in the darkness beyond, the stars waited for the unique combination of ancient wisdom and human unpredictability. A partnership that had already changed the course of galactic history once, and would undoubtedly do so again.